evening, moms and dads. Welcome to our first ever Catholic Schools virtual open house. I am Anne Marie Vega, your Master of Ceremonies for the evening and Director of Enrollment here at the Catholic School Center of Excellence. We are a local nonprofit dedicated to enhancing excellence and increasing enrollment in our local Catholic preschool through 8th grade schools. Tonight we have an awesome lineup for you. We are excited to share the amazing things happening in our Catholic schools and hope that you find what your family is searching for in one of our schools this evening. First, we'll begin as always in prayer, saying the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit. Amen. And I've found a prayer to revel in summer. Dear God, let us revel in summer. Let us soak up the long days and warm sun. May our feet walk on sandy beaches and our heads rest on thick grass under blue skies. May we listen to and marvel at the singing of the birds and stop to watch blissful children at play. This summer, God, may our breathing slow and our hearts open. God, help us to be present to all that is so that we might best see all that might be. Amen. In the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit. Amen. There it is. Well, first of all, again, thank you everyone for being here this evening. My first question you may have, or the first question you may have, I don't have this question, is why Catholic schools and why now? And so I'm going to pass it to and excited to introduce Mr. Bruce Richards, the principal of St. Joseph Catholic STEM School in Waconia, Minnesota. Take it away, Mr. Richards.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Anne Marie. I'm still dancing to that song, and I went on a dance with somebody. So, well, welcome everybody. I want to just talk a little bit about why a Catholic school and why now. In my own personal and professional journey, I spent 20 years in a public school, 10 years in Catholic schools. Public schools have a mission to be really good. We have a mission to be great. What makes us really unique is that our mission is to get, we are excellent in education, but our ultimate mission is to get everybody to heaven. Who could have a better mission than that? And our mission, with the faith component is amazing. We build relationships. Relationships are so huge. It's one of the reasons we really are excited about opening is because our teachers and our students will be able to build that relationship. And here's the thing, students don't care how much somebody knows until they know how much somebody cares. So that relationship is huge in Catholic schools. The community that we have together amongst faculty and students and families are absolutely amazing. And to that point, it's all about belonging, and belonging leads to believing. And believing is that, again, on that ultimate journey of getting to heaven is what it's all about. Right now in our world, in this time and in this place, why now? If you think about everything that's going on in our world, there's so many things that are divisive and are separating people, all the way down, I could list 1,000 things, but we're about bringing people together and taking steps together and understanding that we all have something that's deep inside us that is God-given. And God has a mission for every one of us. And we don't know what that is. We discover it and we unroll and unpackage that every single day. And again, that's part of our mission, is to open that up. After my 20 years in the public school system, what I recognized is it's kind of like being on a freight train. And a freight train is on a track. And you get a lot of momentum, you get a lot of power in that. But it's hard to turn. It's hard to turn a train. And in a Catholic school, one of the Cisco-isms that I have really come to love is this. If you've seen one Catholic school, you've seen one Catholic school. Because what we are, using the train analogy, we're a sports car, and we can turn quickly, and it's exciting. We have shiny, really shiny and sweet sports cars. And some of our sports cars are muscle cars from the 60s and the 70s. And they're really sweet and they're really powerful. So we just have a lot of really great things. And I love Catholic education. In my last 10 years, it's been a blessing for my family and everything. So why is Catholic schools? Because they're excellent. We have a mission to bring everybody to heaven. And right now is the time and the place because our world needs that. So there you go. It's great to see you all. Thank you so much. Thanks for the opportunity, Anne-Marie. I'll be back.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Mr. Richards. And then, as he said, you've been to one Catholic school, you've been to one Catholic school. So we're going to bring you to all 79 Catholic schools this evening. Everyone's going to stay logged on until tomorrow at this time, and we're going to visit each school. If only there were time, but there's not. And so instead, we are going to show you a small sampling of what our schools have to offer. But now I want to pass it to our president here at the Catholic School Center of Excellence, Mr. Raggett, who's going to share a little bit about what may be burning in a lot of our viewers' mind. Mr. Raggett is, okay, but tell me how much it's going to cost.
Yeah, so hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining in and tuning in. I love talking about Catholic schools. I've been in Catholic schools for nearly 20 years, 5 as a teacher, and the last 13 or 14 as a principal, and now as president of the Catholic School Center of Excellence. I'm all about Catholic schools. And as Mr. Richards talked about the why, I'm going to talk about something that's on a lot of your minds. And I want you to keep in mind the aspect of when we talk about affordability, when we talk about everything, it's really about investment. And I know people are going to talk about investment later, but you know, there's a difference between a private school and a parochial school. Catholic schools are parochial schools. A private school's job, as they say, is to get you into Harvard or Yale or Stanford, wherever you want. A Catholic school's job is to get you into heaven. But in our Catholic schools, we can do both. So here you go. Here's what I can say about all this is that, you know, every school has we're a decentralized diocese, which really means that every school is its own entity and really can charge its own tuition rate. I can tell you that the average tuition rate amongst our 79 schools is $4,850. The average payment per month over 10 months is about $384. Now, that's a wide span. A lot of people, some schools have tuition as high as $8,000 and others as low as $1,400. But here's what I can say is that it is an investment. It is something in your child's future. And, you know, when we invest in things that we love, and there's nothing more in our world that we love more than our kids. So why not invest in their future? And this is a perfect opportunity to give Catholic schools a chance. Mr. Richards talked about the sports car analogy, really because we pivot, and that pivot is based on our relationships. So when we invest in things we love, we make good decisions. We make decisions with our head, we make decisions with our heart. And when we do those things, our kids are going to be the benefactors of it. The one thing I can tell you is that all Catholic schools, all 79 of us, they're all wanting to meet with you. They're all wanting an opportunity to talk to you and share with you what they can do. It's not just about affordability, it's about accessibility. What makes us great is that we have people from all different social, economic, and cultural backgrounds. You know, Jesus said, let the children come to me. And this is what we want for you to take a look at our Catholic schools, to let your children come to us and let you come to us so you can be part of our family. Sure, it has a price tag with it, but there's scholarships available, there's financial aid available. The AIM Higher Association has been monumental in providing scholarships for people that need it. All we ask that you give us a chance, and we think you'll be pretty impressed. And we hope you take a look at us, and find CatholicSchools.org is a great place to start.
Perfect, Mr. Raggett. Thank you so much. That is a great reminder that if you are interested in finding the Catholic school closest to your home or maybe closest to your work, you can do that. We have a great school finder on the findcatholicschools.org page. Also there, you can engage and chat with our Find Catholic Schools advisor, Annie Reddy. She's also willing to take calls, chats, text messages from you and your family if you need help finding that school that's best for you. So please go to findcatholicschools.org. Mr. Regis, did I hear, was that right? Was the average Catholic school tuition is under $5,000 a year?
You heard that right.
Wow.
Per child. Yeah, it's great. And you know, it is affordable. And there's financial aid available too. And I do want to just make one comment that somebody, I know I'm not supposed to do this, Anne-Marie, but somebody made a comment in the chat. But I got to say that, look, Catholic schools are not exclusive to Catholics. You know, we want families to come to our schools. And so like I said, Jesus said, let the children come to me, regardless of the background. We want you to take a look, and we think you like what you find.
Thank you, Mr. Regetz. I guess I'll forgive you for diverting from our rehearsed script there. Just kidding. Well, you've heard it from Mr. Regetz, but let's hear what a real parent would like to share about why they choose to invest in their family and in a Catholic education. I'm very excited also to welcome Mr. Joe Roby with this evening. He is a father, 4 children, correct?
Yes,
Oh, I remember correct. And all 4, no, not all 4 are school age quite yet, correct?
three of the 4 are school age.
Okay. At St. Anne's Catholic School in Le Sueur, Minnesota, our archdiocese is very rich and expands into areas, not just here in the Twin Cities, but also in some of our greater Twin Cities area, Le Sueur being one of those areas. Mr. Roby, share with us, why was this a decision that your family thought was the best for them?
Sure. So thanks, Anne-Marie. The reason my wife and I chose St. Anne's specifically and a Catholic school for our children was my wife and I are both products of Catholic elementary schools, and we do have a Catholic elementary school right here in Le Sueur. As you mentioned, it's just off the southwestern border of the metro suburb area, so it's just about 45 minutes from 494. In the beautiful Minnesota River Valley down here, for those of you who want to come take a drive. It's gorgeous down here this time of year. So we're not as far away as a lot of people think. But again, being products of a Catholic school, we really were looking for that faith-based education, of course, with some extra benefits like small class sizes, personalized education, a real community feel. And one thing that Mr. Regetz mentioned, I think, is really key, and something that I was going to touch on, is that Catholic schools are different in a lot of ways than they were 30, 40, 50 years ago, or 120 years ago when St. Anne's here in Le Sueur opened up. We're not exclusively Catholic in our student body, and our wonderful principal, Mrs. Ann Lewis, who I hope is watching on Facebook, would be able to tell us the exact statistics about what percentage of our student population is practicing Catholic. But what our school has been able to do really extraordinarily well, and I think a lot of Catholic schools do this, is that even if you're not Catholic, there's a spirituality about the education that's not exclusively Catholic. So things like love and compassion and honor and trust, care for the environment, social justice, all of these things are woven into the curriculum, and these are things that parents look for in their children's education, whether their children are Catholic or not. And so again, we've come a long way from a nun in every classroom, and that's still the case in a lot of schools. I know here at St. Anne's we've been exclusively lay teachers for a number of years now, but there's a really rich experience, and again, that's in that spirituality that really abounds and touches every area of the curriculum, whether it's science, mathematics, English, social studies. That spirituality, which is a universal spirituality, touches all of those things. And so whether you're there to celebrate the sacraments or receive the sacraments or not, there's a place for you.
Awesome. Mr. Roby, can you talk to me a little bit? You mentioned the sense of community, and being in a small town, I think some people think, well, that's innate probably to just be, if I live in a small town or small area, there's just community. What would be different about a Catholic school than what I would find in other places and other communities?
That's a difficult question to answer, in the sense that I am of, by, and for small towns principally, but I think some of it goes back to that spirituality and caring for the whole person, that Catholic schools, more so than exclusively private, non-parochial schools have, is within that spirituality and the value of the whole person, with the entire curriculum and education being based around that, there's a sense of being home for our kids. And I did not attend a large Catholic school, but know a number of friends who did, and that sense of community is something that we share, even though the census at our individual schools was rather different.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense. That's great. Well, thank you very much, Joe, for Mr. Roby, rather, for hopping on here today and sharing why your family makes that great investment in Catholic schools. St. Anne's is a great option for anyone in that corner of our wonderful Archdiocese. As I mentioned, we have 79 different preschool through 8th grade options for your family. You can explore all of those at findcatholicschools.org or just Google Catholic schools near me, and one will pop up. I want to introduce you all to the diversity of our Catholic schools, because as Mr. Richards pointed out at the beginning, if you've been to one Catholic school, you've been to one Catholic school. And so first I'm going to tee it to Mrs. Kennedy, our principal at Our Lady of the Lake Catholic School in Mound, her school has a model of what's called blended learning. Mrs. Kennedy, can you share with me what is blended learning, and why does that make Our Lady of the Lake so awesome?
So we get to talk about blended learning, and it's a concept that a lot of people kind of misunderstand when they hear about it. They think it means two groups or two grades in a classroom. They think there's a lot of things that people think it is. So blended learning in the most simplest form is combining education through technology and through teacher-led instruction. And so there are, I believe, 8 or 9 schools within the Catholic school system or in our Archdiocese that are blended learning schools. And even with all of us, it's a little bit different in every single in school. So at OLL, what blended learning means is you're receiving instruction through your teacher. And the way that your teacher decides what that instruction is based on some information that is provided from an online resource. So like at OLL, we use iReady and Khan Academy, and then we use our MAP assessments. And teachers use all of that information to then create kind of a learning plan for each student. So you don't have every single person in the classroom learning how to do the exact same math problem during math. There are different groups within each grade. So there might be 3 or 4 different math groups within the 3rd grade classroom. So we have the high flyers who need the information once and they're moving forward and they're zooming through. And then we have some of those students who just need a little bit more one-on-one time with the teacher or a different way to teach it. And so then they get to spend a little bit more time learning that stuff. The beauty of this, and I've seen it as a parent and I've seen it as the principal, is there's fewer and fewer kids saying I'm bored, or it's going too slow, or I just don't know what's going on, because the kids are all learning at their just right learning level, which is a phrase that we use all the time at OLL. It's like, they're at their just right learning level. This is where they're supposed to be. And now the staff's job and the teacher's job and our job is to move them forward at their pace, at their just right learning level. And we do this with reading and math. We don't do it in every single subject. So they're getting instruction from the teachers, and then they're also spending some time on iReady or Khan Academy with lessons that are planned out just for them specifically. And the biggest concern we hear from parents are, oh my gosh, does that mean my kid's on technology all day? No. There's like, it starts very minimal in kindergarten, and yes, kindergartners can use Chromebooks. Kindergartners start off and it's maybe 20 minutes for reading and math in kindergarten, and then it progressively changes as kids get older. But it is age appropriate, and kids love it.
That's awesome. Well, that's so cool, like that just right level, because especially after a lot of families are pivoting and coming out of distance learning, and it's hard to kind of know, where is my kid starting? Are they ready for the next grade? Is there going to need to be some catch up, or did I do an awesome job at distance learning and my kid can skip the next grade? And so what a cool pro way for some of those kiddos, that if they're at either ends of those spectrum, that they're going to be met right where they're at, and to be able to take off and go at whatever pace that they need to be as well. That's awesome. Thank you, Mrs. Kennedy. Now I'm excited to bring back Mr. Richards to talk about C-STEM. What is a C-STEM school?
Yes, well, thanks, Anne Marie, and thank you, Mrs. Kennedy. So first of all, the letter C, not like the Popeye sailing the seven seas. So the letter C for Catholic, and STEM is science, technology, engineering, and math. And so really when I talk about STEM and C-STEM learning, it's about inquiry-based instruction. It's the best of Piaget and John Dewey and Socrates and Bloom's taxonomy all blended into one. Those are all educational gurus. So if you were to walk around our school, what you would notice is the teacher is facilitating the learning. We have a saying that whoever's doing the most talking is doing the most thinking at our school. So the teachers are facilitating that learning and the students are working together. When we were in school, many of us, we had the 3 R's, reading, writing, and arithmetic. We blend in what we call the 4 C's, and that is communication, working on how to communicate and how to listen. Collaboration, how do you work with somebody else to problem solve something, whether it's a real problem or it's a conflict type of a problem. The 3rd C is critical thinking, being able to think deeply about something and really come up with a problem, a solution to different problems. And finally, creativity. School is fun. We want school to be fun for kids. We want to really teach them how to be creative and give them opportunities. So I just want to wrap my little section here about C-STEM to tell you about our 8th grade capstone project that our kids did this year. They did this through distance learning, by the way. They were all given a challenge of trying to connect with some company that was building artificial limbs for soldiers who had lost a limb when they were serving in our country. So they had to do something, they had to go back and they had to do philanthropic research to find out how people were funding this stuff. So then they went and they interviewed virtually how these people would go about finding this. And then they had to create the actual artificial limb. So it was the coolest thing. And then they had to put it all together into a project or presentation that they had to give to their classmates and others. So there's C-STEM in a nutshell. There's a lot of really cool things about C-STEM. That's just a glimpse. So thanks
Awesome.
again for the opportunity to talk about that.
No, thank you, Mr. Richards, for sharing. That is phenomenal what your 8th graders can accomplish. Plus, I really wish that my Catholic school had embraced the person doing the most talking is doing the most thinking, because I feel like I probably would have gotten better grades. Not that I didn't get good grades, of course, but I would have gotten better grades had I been graded on how much I was talking in class. So I'm going to slip that one back to my Catholic school principal at St. Vincent's and see if I can get a few of my grades changed. That's awesome. So if you're a parent who has a kid who's a talker, perhaps a C-STEM school is a good option for them to channel that talking into a better, more thinkable pattern of sorts. That's awesome. Well, we also have Mrs. Ann Gatman, Mrs. Gatman from St. Jerome Classical School in Maplewood to share what a classical school is and what that means at her school. Welcome, Mrs. Gatman.
Hi, thank you very much, Anne Marie, and thanks everybody for being out there and for your interest in our Catholic schools. Anne Marie is right. At St. Jerome, we are in the process of transitioning to a classical education, and we're joined by about 5 other schools in our Archdiocese, and they're all over the geographical map of the Archdiocese. So if this is something that feels like a good fit for your family, likely not too far from where you are, you could find a school like this. So first of all, I just want to tell you what classical is not, because this was something that took me a while to figure out. Classical is not stuffy. It's not elitist. It's not for those people who think they're so smart. Classical is about really understanding who children are as these wonderful creatures and creations of God, and working with them with things that are good and beautiful and true throughout their developmental stages. So if you think about the young child is like the sponge, and we really hit on the notion of wonder. Our children are wondering, what is the world like? What is God like? What is all of this around us about? And we teach in certain ways, and we provide the best that is written for children at this age level. And we get them writing and memorizing and jingling and just doing things. And we move on into the early adolescent years. And if you think about your sixth grader, your seventh grader, they're the ones that are questioning everything, and they want to know why, and they want to defend what they think. And they're a little bit snarly, and they're wrestling with stuff. Well, that's where they start to get into a lot of content that has them thinking. And as they mature, and this is beyond even our years, as ending in 8th grade, they get into the point where they are forming their opinions, and they're forming their arguments, and they're making a defense. And throughout it all, we're shaping their loves, their love for God, their love for things that are good, their love for living a virtuous life. We say at St. Jerome that our children are joyfully formed in virtue. And we just delight in making conscious choices for what we read with our students, what we ask them to write about. So classical is available to all children. We are at one of the schools in the Archdiocese that is beautifully diverse. We are presenting what is the best that is written, the best that is said by people across all cultures and all ethnicities, and that's something that we are very committed to. So thanks, Anne Marie, and check us out and check out some of the other classical schools.
Awesome. And that's really great. I actually may have been one of those people who kind of thought classical was a little above my pay grade or by my level. So that's cool to hear about the accessibility of it and how it really, knowing more and searching for more is something that's available for every family. So I really appreciate that, Anne. Thank you. I'm also excited to bring and introduce Mrs. Angela Robleski, who is the principal at St. John the Baptist Catholic Montessori School in Excelsior, Minnesota, one of 2 Montessori schools, preschool through 8s that we have. We have other Montessori preschools. Angela, or Mrs. Robleski, could you, or Mrs. W, I believe, as all the cool kids call you at St. John's, tell us, what does it mean to be a Catholic Montessori school?
Certainly, thanks, Anne. Montessori education is based on the pioneering work of Dr. Maria Montessori, whose lifelong study of the way children develop led her to create a method designed to take the maximum advantage of the child's natural desire to learn. So here at St. John's, we serve children, toddlers through 8th grade with this method. The Montessori method respects the uniqueness of each child and tailors their educational experience to each child's needs and progresses each child when they are developmentally then ready. Children work in a collaborative environment with hands-on materials, and when presentations or lessons are given, they entice the child to learn. The Montessori classrooms include an age range of approximately 3 years, so it's a multi-age classroom. There will be opportunities within that classroom for students to work individually or collaboratively, as well as creatively. They could work on the floor, at low tables, at tall tables, all of which meet the child's developmental size. So you're not going to see desks, but you're going to see spaces where students can do their work that best suits them. The materials for all subjects are accessible to the students on shelves, and those shelves then represent each area of study. So the combination of collaboration and caring between the children of different ages also helps form a community within the classroom in which the children learn how to interact respectively with one another. Fostering self-motivation and using those mixed age classrooms also allows Montessori to offer a greater amount of freedom within the classroom. So children have the accessibility to get up and move about as their body needs. As the children are drawn to and engaged in concentrated work, they begin to develop a self-discipline that becomes internal. They learn to concentrate on their work and to respect the work of others. So the Montessori method incorporates a profound respect for the child. As adults, we respect the child, and a deep appreciation that childhood is actually a time for construction for that individual being. The Montessori child learns not what to think, but how to think. And this is very critical. The classroom or prepared environment and trained Montessori teachers offer the child materials and guidance that will help them discover the world in which they live, become engaged, self-motivated students, and acquire the skills needed to become healthy, active citizens in their community. And that is Montessori in a very short amount of time.
What I love is the freedom that you mentioned of Montessori, and how much of it is guided by students and by kiddos. So that's beautiful. Thank you so much, Mrs. Robleski. And I am very more than excited to introduce mi mejor amiga aquí entre todas, la señora Sartel. So my best friend, she's really not, but I'm going to say she is, amongst the group here is Mrs. Sartel, and she is the directora, the principal from Risen Christ Catholic School in South Minneapolis. And they are a dual immersion school donde hablan español, where they speak Spanish. Bienvenida, señora Sartel.
Pues muchas gracias, señora Vega. Estoy muy contenta de poder estar aquí y hablar de nuestra escuela. As you said, we are a dual immersion school, and there are a variety of different dual immersion schools. So I guess what I would like to start out with is share just a little bit about our dual immersion school, what we are and who we are. We are what is referred to as a 50-50 dual immersion school, Spanish and English. We are the only dual immersion Catholic school in the state of Minnesota, and we are one of 24 dual immersion Catholic schools in the United States. Risen Christ alone, we reach over 28 zip codes of our population. We have 325 students K-8, and in our dual immersion setting, what you'll find, there are a couple of myths out there. One that is most predominant, and that is, well, if a child is in dual immersion education in Spanish and English all day long, they may not be real strong in one language or the other, and that could not be further from the truth. We have these wonderful, wonderful brains that are able to, especially when we meet kids right away as kindergartners, that are able to do some amazing things with language. Studies have shown that native Spanish speakers who are part of our school fully develop proficiency in their native language. It is very student-centered. It allows them to not only be able to speak their language even better and connect with their cultures and their social support networks, but it also helps native English speakers. And by the 6th grade level, many native English speakers outperform many of their other counterparts in all English schools on a variety of English language tests, reading, writing, and listening. And so doing some study, not only just looking at how it helps them, reading, writing, and listening helps students in all other aspects, not only of life, but in their curriculum. So a lot happens with that brain when they're nurtured K-8 in a dual immersion school. One of the really wonderful things that you'll see when coming to Risen Christ is students will start the day. You'll have a class of maybe, and a sample class would be like our 1st grade class, where we have 50 students, and 25 will start in English, 25 will start in Spanish, and they'll have their instruction until midday. And at midday, they switch, and then they have the second half of their day in the other language, and that works so well. It is a wonderful, wonderful thing to see students acquiring a second language and increasing their capacity for listening. And as mentioned before, we encourage a lot of speaking, a lot of communication. And in addition to being a dual immersion school, we are also a responsive classroom school that approach to learning is one in which is very student-centered, with social emotional learning being at the forefront of everything we do when we teach, and have our Christ-centered discipline and classroom management in our class. There is a lot of research behind responsive classroom, which is designed specifically to create safe, joyful, and real engaging classrooms and school communities, not only for students, but teachers and families alike. So I really look forward to being able to answer more questions about how culturally and linguistically our students grow, especially today, where that need is really high in our society. And please reach out to us at Risen Christ for a tour. We have virtual tours and we have in-building tours that we would love to give you. So mil gracias, Ana María, por este tiempo esta noche. Lo agradezco mucho.
Muchas gracias, señora Sarter. Encantada de tenerla acá. Thank you for being here. A little shout out, of course, bilingualism is a good skill to have, if I do say so myself. So if that's something that's interested in would fit your family, Risen Christ is your school. Now, I believe another Spanish and bilingual speaker I can bring on is Mr. Grebner. Hola, Senor Grebner, from St. Therese Catholic School in Deep Haven. Now, your school has a really amazing outdoor learning option from what I can see behind you, Mr. Grebner. Will you share a little bit with us about what that means at St. Therese?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Anne-Marie. Thank you so much for having me. And I have been loving this. Of course, I know a lot about our Catholic schools, but I'm just so proud to be a part of this Archdiocese and hear all the great options that are out there for different families to serve the needs of children and families. So thank you again for having me. Hopefully you can see behind me our beautiful outdoor classroom. I'm not actually in Deep Haven at the moment, but it's my first time using a virtual background. So I'm growing, probably months behind my students at St. Therese. If you look very closely somewhere in there, you can see my son doing some really good digging. So about 4 years ago, a group of parents and staff got together and created this beautiful outdoor learning center that is behind me as part of our 30-acre campus. And along with that, on the other end of our campus, we have a DNR certified school forest. And a lot of the focus for that outdoor learning was on our outstanding early learning center. So we have infants through pre-K as part of our early learning center. And last year was my first year. About a year ago, I started as the principal here at St. Therese. And I really tried to take the cue from the educators of our youngest children and bring that outdoor learning to our K through 8 classrooms. So this year we took a small step in bringing more K through 8 classrooms outside and learning. And Bruce talked about being sports cars and being able to pivot quickly. So as we prepare for this fall, we are taking a very sharp turn into a lot more outdoor learning as we think about the need to really socially distance and the benefits of the fresh air as all that is going on with the pandemic. So we just think that it provides a more safe space. And additionally, there's a lot of research, and I won't go into all the details, in regards to the benefits to learning outside for all ages. There are incredible academic benefits. There's different behavior and overall engagement of students. A parent said to me, well, surely a kindergartner could not focus on math or language arts outside. And the research shows that that's actually the opposite, and that they can engage more when they're outside. And then there's social emotional benefits. And being a Catholic school, we teach part of the Mr. Roby talked about social justice and care for God's creation. And so we're teaching care for God's creation. And we think that them having the opportunity to spend time learning outside really enhances their understanding and overall appreciation for the gift that we have.
Mr. Grebner, that one, this is beautiful. I love always hearing about St. Therese. I also think, despite your background, are you outside currently? We can hear the airplanes going by and the birds chirping. No, what a beautiful, it's a smart thing. Like you're outside and talking about outdoor learning. And so what I just think it's quite fitting. So please don't. I think it's a great
Trying to
thing.
create the natural ambiance.
Yeah, I was wondering if you were playing the birds on your computer, the noise, or if it was natural. So that is great to hear. Infants, I heard Mr. Gredner. So you guys really start early at St. Therese.
Yeah, and you can see behind me slightly Deep Haven Woods, which is a senior care center, and so we've got the whole spectrum of life on our campus, which is just a really beautiful thing as a Catholic community.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Mr. Grebner. Mrs. Dahlman is here on the call this evening, and there is a really awesome program that's available at 33 of our 79 schools called Believe and Read. Mrs. Dahlman, would you talk a little bit about Believe and Read and how that works at your school, St. Peter's in North St. Paul, where you are the principal?
Yeah, I would be happy to. Man, if I didn't already know where my 4 children were going to school, I would be sending them to these schools tonight. Can you believe the beautiful things we have to offer? I might send one to each one. I don't know. But yes, it's so good to be here tonight. And I think something that we all have in common at our Catholic schools is this idea that the glory of God is most felt when the person is fully alive. We want our students to be fully alive and to achieve greatness. And the Believe and Read program does just that when we talk about academic excellence. Right now in our country as a whole, 60% of students between the ages of kindergarten and 3rd grade aren't reading at grade level. This is alarming news for all of us. In our Catholic schools in the Archdiocese, we do a little better. We have 20% of our students, kindergarten through 3rd grade, not reading at grade level. But Believe and Read and our schools are here to get 100% of our students reading at grade level between the years of kindergarten and 3rd grade. This is essential. Students that don't achieve that by 3rd grade are more likely to drop out of school, are more likely to see long-term impact in their earning career and their life. And so we at Catholic schools want to ensure that every child achieves that greatness that they're meant for. And part of that is academic excellence and knowing how to read. And so as Anne-Marie said, my school is one of 33 schools that partners with Groves Academy to institute reading instruction that is exactly what it should be. Systematic, phonetic in nature, based on sounds, and a very building block approach to reading. Sometimes we think that just by exposing children to beautiful literature, they'll just learn how to read. And while that's super important, and you can get beautiful literature, especially at some of our classical schools, right? We want to expose children to those things. We know based on brain research that the brain needs to learn in a very particular sequence. And our partnership with Groves Academy, which has been doing research over 50 years about how to learn to read and how to do that best, is now being implemented at our Catholic schools. I'll just share this about mine, and this is true about all 33, I'm sure. From our fall data point to our winter data point, right? 3 months, we completely eliminated any of our high-risk students, not by getting rid of them out of our classroom, but by bringing them up to grade level or just the level below. And so this amount of progress in just 3 months is unbelievable. And all of you should check us out because we want greatness for your child, and you should too. And part of that is just being able to read at grade level. So good to be with you here tonight.
Oh, that is such an awesome program, Allison. And as I mentioned, we have 33 schools that are using that program. You can learn more at cscoe-mn.org if you'd like to learn more about Believe and Read. Otherwise, again, if you are still looking for that school or don't know which exact one is closest to you, findcatholicschools.org is where you can find that information. And our Catholic Schools advisor, Annie Reddy, is waiting on the other line at the chat on that website too, if you have more questions that aren't being answered here live on Facebook or in our private Zoom call. We bring in our final school to represent today is Highland Catholic, and we have our preschool director, Cassie Kenny, joining us today, because if you haven't heard a theme through all of these schools is we have systems. A lot of our schools, 74 of our 79 schools, we actually begin with preschool. Mrs. Kenny, can you tell us what, because that's kind of different, having a preschool all the way through 8th grade school. What is the advantage of having a preschool embedded into that K-8 environment?
Well, I have the best job in the world because I work with our first learners, the preschoolers who really started off at our schools and really create this wonderful community that continues for children from the time they're in preschool all the way up through 6th or 8th grade, depending on what the composition of their Catholic school looks like. So we're the beginning of the child's school experience, and we create that community early on, and parents become part of it because we really believe that our job is to partner with families, that parents are the teachers, first teachers of children, and we get to partner with parents and create that, because we're educating. What really sets us apart from a public or private school is we are educating the whole child, not just looking at physical, emotional growth, but we're also dealing with the spiritual growth in children and really taking these kiddos from the cradle all the way through. We also focus on developmentally appropriate best practices. We're very flexible in what we offer. Within our 74 preschools, there's half day, full day, 5 days a week, 2 days a week, 3 days a week. There's lots and lots of different opportunities and options to meet families where they're at with what they need. And then I think something that I never really thought about 10 years ago when we started at Highland Catholic was one of the best benefits that came out of it is that smooth transition for children to start kindergarten. Kindergarten's a big thing in our world, and we really make a big thing about it with kiddos. And when we can have that safety of, oh, I know my preschool teacher's right down the hall if I need a little hug and I'm a little bit afraid of kindergarten, but I've already had Spanish with the Spanish teacher and music with the music teacher, and I know the physical education teacher. That is a huge benefit, and children also, we're able to connect with the kindergarten teachers, so we meet kids where they're at. There isn't that 3 months of figuring out where that kindergartner's at because they've already been in our school. I'm a product of Catholic education. I'm not a great salesperson, but I believe in my heart the value of Catholic education. I've worn a lot of hats at Highland Catholic. I've been on the school board. I've been a parent at Highland Catholic. And then I had this awesome opportunity to be part of the preschool. And I see it in my own kids, the value of Catholic education. So really come and check out Highland Catholic, come and check out, as Mrs. Dahlman was saying, come and check out all of these great schools that are right outside your door. August 4th, we're going to be learning more about preschools. We're going to do another virtual tour, and it'll focus on our Faithful Beginnings preschools. So come back and see us then, and thanks for that opportunity, Anne-Marie.
Yeah, Mrs. Kenny and I will be back here August 4th to talk about our Faithful Beginnings programs, which is what a lot of our preschool programs are called. But really awesome opportunities. And what a beautiful thing, like you're saying, my preschool teachers down the hall, transitioning into kindergarten just is that much more seamless for our youngest little learners. Thank you, Mrs. Kenny. Okay, but guys, so I really love all these different models that you're talking about and all these great schools, but everybody knows Catholic schools are outdated.
Is that right? Well, I've heard that, but let me tell you this. I think of it as a legacy. So Minnesota's been a state since 1858, and if you go back in time, some of the very first schools that were here were Catholic schools serving the students of Minnesota. I know our school out in Waconia was opened in 1860. That was before Abraham Lincoln was elected president. That was before the Civil War. Now that's what I call a legacy, not outdated. Our current school is only 20 years old. And quite frankly, we have some equipment in there that there's not one school, I know this for a fact, there's not one kinder through 8th grade school, public school in the state of Minnesota that has the same equipment that we have at our school. So there you go. I mean, that's just one Catholic school, right? And I know if you look around the room here, everyone could answer that question as well. So it's a legacy.
Appreciate that, Mr. Fishers. Thank you so much. Okay, all right, fine. Maybe they're not that outdated or they're legacy, but Catholic schools aren't diverse. They're kind of all of the same, and all the same type of kids go to Catholic schools, right?
Wrong, Anne Marie. In fact, we are very true to our humble beginnings when Catholic schools opened, that legacy oh so long ago, and we welcomed immigrant populations from all over the world, and our Catholic schools today continue to do that. I know my school, we welcome families from all over Africa as they immigrate here to the United States, and we do that with really open arms. I think there's a data point that our schools in our archdiocese, in terms of our racial diversity, we're at about 30% of our schools. So we welcome a wide range of families of different ethnic backgrounds. Not only that, we have economic diversity. We want to welcome families of all economic backgrounds and partner with them to make education affordable and to bring to them what's best for their family and for their children. And not only that, but we have religious diversity. We have families that, of course, are Catholic, other Christian backgrounds, as well as even non-Christian families. And we can do that because as a Catholic church, we desire to open our arms and welcome people in and invite them into our beautiful community. And so we are very diverse.
Okay, fine. So we're not, the school, we have a great legacy. We have great diversity, but my child has special learning needs, and I've just heard Catholic schools can't serve kids who have special learning needs.
You know, Anne Marie, I'd like to jump in on that one. I would like to say that it is an extreme pleasure and it is a great blessing on behalf of all of our Catholic schools to serve your children who have special needs. Cisco, sort of our driving force, has made a lot of training available to our teachers and our leaders in how to work with exceptional learners. We all, in some way or another, have part of our mission, the belief that every child is made in God's image. And we believe that partnering with the parents and working closely with you is the way that we're able to serve your children. We provide a lot more than academics. We provide a spiritual environment where your child can thrive socially, can thrive emotionally, and that is important. Another thing that I just want to mention is none of us do this alone. We do partner with our local schools to provide special ed services to make sure that we are crossing all the T's and dotting the I's in terms of what your children need. It is an honor to work with our students who come to us with special needs, and it would truly be a void and a very missed element of our school programs if parents didn't choose Catholic schools for their children.
Well, all right, you all have proved me wrong, and I'm in this case, I'm happy to be wrong. Don't tell my husband that. I know he's watching, but this is one case where I'm very glad that there's the right answers are out there. We are drawing to the end of our time here this evening, and we have finished in less than an hour, as promised to all of our attendees and these panelists. I have to give a big shout out to every principal and preschool director who took the time to be with us this evening. They are working hard as all educators right now in putting together safe back to school plans for all students across the country. Of course, we're worried and concerned most, especially about our students here in the Archdiocese of Minneapolis, or St. Paul and Minneapolis. As some of you watching may know, our schools have made the commitment to be back in person this fall, but that requires specific plans and really measured steps to ensure the safety of all people in our schools. And so these people spend all day talking with experts and different members of their community to ensure our plans are the safest that they can be for students, and then took the time out this evening to share with you the beauty of their schools in right now and in our normal times as well. So thank you everybody for your time this evening. A reminder, if a Catholic school is something that your family really should explore more, findcatholicschools.org is a great place to find the closest school nearest to you. You can also just Google Catholic schools near me. Some people enjoy doing that. or reach out to anybody, any school here on this call, or there's a chat person in Facebook and in our Zoom call this evening. But thank you again, everyone, for being here this evening. I wish I had a child to enroll in each school, just as Mrs. Dahlman suggested, but right now, my one child is not old enough yet. So thank you, everybody. We are going to sign off. God bless all of you. God bless all of our children, and good luck in the coming school year. All right, the live stream.